Petty revenge. Little prank against my sister turned to accidental revenge. So for a little bit of background. My younger sister is in college and borrows my computer from time to time for certain projects and whatnot, which isn't a problem as long as she asks first, which she does. But the problem is, she never signs out of her Google account after she is done. Told her to do it multiple times, but she never listens. Now for the story, I get on my computer like I normally do, but realize my sister is signed into Google and it's not my account. I was just gonna sign her out again, but then I decided to pull a little prank. I changed her username to change your password and her profile picture to the dumb Winnie the Pooh meme, and then I signed off not thinking much of it. But then a day later, she comes to my room and asks me, "Did you hack my Google account?" I denied it while smirking and explained that she left her account, signed it again, and I just went in and changed a couple things. She then explained how she was going to give a presentation to some board members or something at her school, and they all saw her account and one of them asked, "Did someone hack your account?" And apparently she was very much so embarrassed. I busted out laughing and told her that's what she gets. I genuinely didn't expect it to be this much of a revenge. Just a little prank. But I'm glad it turned out the way it did. Petty revenge. Gave this irresponsible dog owner the lesson she deserves. One sunny afternoon, I decided to take a walk in the park. As I strolled along, I saw a woman standing by a bench while her dog did its business right next to it. She was glued to her phone, straight ignoring the giant sign that said, "Please clean up after your dogs," literally steps away from her with bags available for cleanup. It was wild to think that someone would do this to my park that I enjoy going to, laying on the grass. So you know what I did? I walked over, picked up the mess with the bag she was supposed to use, and then dropped the dog doo-doo right at her feet. "Looks like you left something behind," I said with a smirk. Her confusion turned right into embarrassment, and she could no longer look me in the eyes. As I continued my walk, feeling oddly satisfied, I heard her mumble something rude. I couldn't resist but to say, "If you took a moment to clean up after your dog, we wouldn't have this problem. Lol, I think there might be a malfunction in my retribution radar." Petty revenge. Want to let your children run around a store? Now you can be as worried as the workers are. This happened years ago while I was working at a craft store. Like most craft stores, there were walls of glass, ceramic and other very breakable, very sharp items for sale, and this day I was stocking one of these fragile sections. A woman came in with what felt like 10 children under 15, but turned out to only be 4 kids and let them loose to play tag Marco Polo in the aisles while she shopped. After I had collided twice with these kids because they weren't watching where they were going, I decided to hunt down the mom before they or I got hurt. I had worked well enough customer service to know that if you asked directly for them to control their kids, they would get mad and refuse out of principle more often than not. I decided to be sneaky and stand in the same aisle as her and pretend to be stocking something near her, and spoke into my work headset without actually pressing the button. "Hey, did anyone get the broken glass from aisle 13? No? Okay, then I'll be over there in just a moment to get that cleaned up." Suddenly the lady realized there might actually be danger in letting your young children sprint around a store, and she immediately gathered them all up, and they stayed by her side for the rest of the trip. After this, I used it every time a customer decided we were their free childcare, and it worked about 90% of the time. Edit spelling corrected aisle to aisle. Petty revenge. Sneaky outfits for the baby. I share my 7-month-old with my ex-BF. We're working through mediation to come to a parenting agreement, and while I think we both are trying, he does a lot of scent that pisses me off and I just have to bite my tongue. I have discovered, though, that a lot of the cute clothing I was given for the baby is a little impractical, but I can put it to good use when I'm handing him over for time with X. Suspenders for no reason? Yes. Winnie the Pooh jeans with God help us a button-up fly? Excellent. A bright white shirt, replete with collar and cuffs and a total of 20 buttons? Absolutely. All the clothes I would never in a million years put my extremely wriggly crawling baby into are getting their money's worth. And I can smile at X at handover and tell him to enjoy whatever activity he planned in the adorable outfit I've created. Update. So glad so many people enjoyed this. For those of you worried about the baby being misused as a pawn, I promise it's not that bad. His dad and I work together in some respects. For example, I buy bundles of second-hand clothes, give him some, then as he grows we exchange them all again for next size up. Similarly for nappies, because the baby grows so quickly and it's pointless for dad to spend the extra money when we can just be sensible. This is petty but pretty harmless and very, very entertaining. Petty revenge. Want to speed up your car so I can't walk on a crosswalk? Now it's my turn. Needed to go to a store that was located in a large and busy shopping center. Parked my car and proceeded to walk from the parking lot to the crosswalk that leads to the storefront sidewalk. As I am about to cross, I hear a car accelerate, then immediately look up. Had to quickly jump back as she almost hit me with her car. I reacted with a loud, "Are you serious?" She stops her car, looks at me, and carelessly shrugs her shoulders while laughing. So I shake my head and continue. Then I realize that I had parked on the wrong side of the shopping center from the store was going to. I do the walk of shame back and get back in my car. As I'm driving to the other side, I see shoulder shrug lady about to cross in the same way that I had. Not proud of this. but I absolutely floored the accelerator so she couldn't cross. She jumped back in disgust, but didn't realize it was me yet. So I stopped my car in front of her and gave her the most pronounced shoulder shrug while mimicking her smile. She actually laughed in disbelief, and my food tasted better the rest of that day. Petty revenge. Friend deliberately disappeared from my life after graduation, so years later I messed with their music. For the sake of this story, let's call the friend in question B. So I was friends with B throughout most of college. We were pretty close and would always hang out. I'd drive them places, we'd organize throw parties together important for later. I'd help their partner out with a place to stay, or rides whenever they visited, etc. It's safe to say, I thought we were pretty good friends. Sometime during our final year, B, along with a few others, was part of a long and pretty nasty conflict with other people I was acquainted with. This conflict ended up being escalated to the school admin, and they ended up calling in everyone named as a potential witness to testify, so that they could have all sides and all info to make a decision regarding the situation. Throughout all of this, B would check in on me and encourage me to speak out, remind me of things that happened, and made sure our stories stayed consistent. Throughout this, I felt like I was being a good friend by speaking with the truth and defending my friends from attacks, while making sure the other individuals involved would be held accountable for what happened. Fast forward to the week leading up to graduation, I was reaching out to a lot of people so that I could get a meal in with them before we all left for good. I tried reaching out to B and the group we were a part of so that we could get a meal together, but got no answer. After insisting, I was told one of them, not the friend in question, wasn't allowed to hang out with people of my gender because their partner didn't allow it. So I didn't press the matter further and decided that I'd just try and see these people individually at some point. Spoiler alert. That never happened. Same thing happened with grad photos. Didn't get any with B or that group. A few days after graduation, I went to send B something on social media, only to realize I was blocked by them on everything. After talking to some other friends who had been abroad, they confirmed that B told people, after graduation, that they were going to use me to gain leverage during their troubles with the school admin, and then block me, which was shocking to me because this person never showed any signs of disliking me, nor did anything happen for them to feel that way about me. All of this leads us to today, when I found an old device I haven't used in about 3 years. Turns out, B had logged into Spotify on this device of mine for an event, but never logged out. And after all this time, I finally got a chance to enact some form of revenge. So I ended up deleting all of their playlists and unfollowing any and all artists' playlists they had saved. By the time I was done, they had no music left and had logged out of their account as to prevent anybody from knowing it was me. I sacrificed a lot for you, and you never even cared about me. Thank God I'm no longer around you. Petty revenge. Either you clean the garage or I will. My husband procrastinates a lot, and at times it's annoying. We moved almost 1 year ago, and he keeps telling me he needs to clean the garage, or that he will clean the garage to fix my car, among other things. Nothing I did or asked of him for him to clean it. So I told him either he gets it done, or I will do it for him. He once again didn't believe me about something. So last weekend I started cleaning the garage and started putting things away. I got about 1/3 of it done. Once he came home and saw it the next day, he freaked out. "What did you do? Where's my stuff?" I told him, well, somebody had to do it, so I started it. Guess who cleaned the garage today and reorganized everything? Petty revenge. Wouldn't sell on my 21st birthday, so I'm going to support big business. It's my 21st birthday, and a weird Korean family tradition we have is that the 21-year-old buys the first drinks and smokes for their grandfather parent. I went to the smoke shop right at the end of my block, asked for what I needed, grabbed my wallet, and handed my ID over. My ID clearly says 21 yo on 282025, and it scans no problem. Then the clerk sees it's my birthday and asks. I don't say anything other than, yes, I am now 21. Is there something wrong with my ID? Dude pulls out this little digital clock and it says, can sell to anyone born before this date, which shows January 29th, 2025. He says I have to wait 24 hours and that I legally can't buy anything. I told him that's not how it works, nor what the clock means. He said he doesn't make the rules and that I can't buy, even though I am 21. So I did what anyone else would do. I flashed the wad of cash I had in my wallet and said, man, that is really a shame. The guy sees it and begins to backpedal as I'm walking out the door. He stops me and said I should come back tomorrow and he'll sell me whatever I want. I ended it with, oh sweet, but I think the Wawa might beat you out today. I went to where I should have started, and the kind Wawa employee who knows me gave me a free beer and told me happy birthday. Petty revenge. No scent policy gone awry. I work for a large multinational firm that introduced a no strong scent policy about a year ago to prevent discomfort from strong perfumes and colognes. I'm fine adhering to it. However, there's an administrator in the office who acts as if she's everyone's boss. She's a bit overzealous, like Rolf from The Sound of Music, eager to enforce rules, even unnecessarily. Months after the policy was announced, she started targeting colleagues, including 2 of my friends, accusing them of violating the scent rule. Her approach annoyed many of us, so a few co-workers and I decided on some harmless revenge, wearing subtle perfumes or colognes when we're in the office a few times a week. It's just for fun, and we'd gladly stop if anyone genuinely felt discomfort. But no one else has ever complained, and none of us wear strong scents. So she's gone from 1 or 2 people who wear cologne to about 20. We find the situation amusing. Petty revenge. You don't want to pay? I'll hold your laundry hostage. I, 44, at the time, am a small business owner. I have a pickup and delivery laundry service in a big city. My bread and butter is commercial business, small salons, bars, restaurants. People like us because we don't require a lengthy contract. It's a sort of call us if you want to situation, and if you don't like us, don't call. It works both ways. We were pretty new to the business at the time, and we were super excited to get a Michelin 2-star restaurant's tablecloths and napkins. We didn't like the jerk finance guy M, who always tried to negotiate us down, but we got along great with A. She was the logistics fixer genius problem solver for the restaurant. Any high-end business should have someone like her on staff. We jumped through hoops like we'd never jumped through hoops before. Even rented more space to handle their business. At $3,000 a month, they were our biggest customer. Thing is, M already negotiated an amazing deal with us from the start, but he was in the nasty habit of trying to negotiate after the fact. Every time they owed us money, he would try to get us to take less. We told A this was not okay over and over again. M was an owner, but he was just a money guy. The head chef and other owners actually cared about the business. Well, the back and forth went on for months. They always insisted on a discount. We never gave in, because we were already in deep discount territory with these people. And come on, at $400 plate, you can afford $2 per tablecloth or whatever we charged them. M eventually started really putting the screws to us and was withholding about $1,700, money we really needed, while he tried to squeeze us to accept less. I think he thought we were probably living on the edge like most small business owners, but we were really just tired, sick and tired more than anything. And we checked our balance of Fs, and there were none left to give. I came up with a plan and got my partner to agree. We put the plan in motion. We waited until the weekend came. We had almost all of these people's laundry. I think you can see where this is going. I called A, and I told her that M could stuff it. We have all your laundry. It's all pressed and ready. It's Monday. You're planning to open again on Tuesday. When you pay us in full for this order and everything that you owe us for previous orders in cash, you'll get your laundry back. Not before. I also let her know that once we got paid, our business relationship would be over. This was disastrous for us financially, but we weren't going to starve to death. She understood, and she was actually on our side. She loved our service. She let all the owners know that we were not messing around. She called us back and we agreed on a time. I went to the restaurant, left my partner and the laundry in the van. I dealt with all sorts of criminals and scammers in the neighborhoods where we delivered. I knew how to treat deadbeats. M wasn't there. The chef other owner was there, and only because it was him and not M did I accept a business check instead of cash. It cashed no problem. I called my partner to bring in the laundry. A called me later and proposed that we keep working with them and we would never have to speak to M again. Honestly, it was such a weight off my shoulders to no longer deal with them. I said no way. Don't try to stiff a small business that stands between you and setting tables for $20,000 worth of seatings in your fancy restaurant when you have no plan B. I have no regrets. Petty revenge. Rude to me for no reason. I report your rule-breaking activities. I live in an apartment complex with my mother and my small dog. Where it's located, we often get wildlife up near the apartment, particularly on one side, especially at night. I'm very cautious when walking my dog after dark because of this. A few nights ago, my mom and I were walking my dog on that side after dark. I smelled something and asked my mom if she smelled a skunk. She said she did, and I said we should end the walk. We were up close to the building on the sidewalk, right in front of some first-floor apartment patios, as we had this conversation. One of the patios has curtains hanging so that you can't see the patio from the street. As I said that we should end our walk, the guy on the patio with the curtains opened the curtains so aggressively that they fell from where he had them hanging and started screaming at us about being racist and telling us to get away from his property. My mom grabbed my arm and started pulling me away, and I realized 2 things. 1, the skunk smell was coming from his patio. It got stronger when he flung the curtains. And 2, he had several other people on his patio with him that were smoking. The apartment rule is no smoking on the premises. The lease specifically states that even smoking on the patios, balconies, and in the yards and garages, only some apartments have them, is forbidden and cause for eviction. I've noticed that as long as nobody complains about the smoking, the manager doesn't seem to really care. People smoke on their balconies all the time and throw their butts on the ground. From what I've been told, they charge an extra cleaning fee when you move out if they have evidence of you smoking in the apartment. But other than that, they just ignore it unless someone complains or it causes a problem. So I devised a plan. I made note of the apartment number as we went back to ours. The next morning, when walking my dog, I took pictures of the cigarette butts on the ground directly in front of that apartment's patio. It was clear they had dumped their ashtray over the side of the patio. Then I went to the leasing office and filed a complaint about the smoking and littering. Yesterday, when I was leaving, I noticed an eviction notice on their door. I was annoyed by them constantly dumping their ashtrays on the ground, but never would have made a complaint about it if the guy hadn't been rude for no reason. Petty revenge. I left my shopping cart in the parking lot for the first time ever, and it felt great. I got to the store today with my son and saw an open space. Sweet, a pull-through. I go to pull in and see that some dumbass took up 4 parking spaces and wasn't visible from the laneway. I had to back out of the space since I couldn't fit and ended up parking next to him. I shook my head and grumbled about it and went in to do my shopping. When I got back to my car, I noticed that 2 other people had piled their carts around this idiot's car, one in front and one in the back. I've literally never once in my life left my cart in the parking lot since I'm not an animal. But it only took a few seconds for me to know what I had to do. I put my cart next to the driver's side door of this guy's car, and it felt great. Hopefully more people kept up the pay it forward cart pile after me. Screw you, people who take 4 parking spaces. Petty revenge. Organ donor, but not the meat kind. Way back in the early 2000s, my husband's grandmother borrowed an organ, the piano kind, from a friend, but never played it. It was in her tiny house for many years. Gran's house was small, literally the width of a single car garage, so she didn't have much space to begin with. At the end of 2021, husband's aunt owns the property that Gran lived on, and was also friends with the organ owner, contacted organ owner, asking her to take the organ back. Crickets. Start of 2022, Gran gets diagnosed with cancer of the everything. It was metastatic lung cancer that had traveled to every part of her body. She opted out of chemo. We needed the space in Gran's lounge to put a bed, because the bedroom was too small to care for her properly. The reason doesn't matter, organ owner needed to take her organ back. Auntie asked organ owner several times and got many excuses. I'll take it later this week. I don't have anyone to transport it. Can't you hold on to it a bit longer? I have a potential buyer that I'm waiting for. All the usual excuses. Husband's uncle and 2 cousins came over in April 2022 from England to spend some time with Gran before she got too sick to do anything. We took that time to rearrange her house to accommodate a bed in the lounge for her. My husband's Bill borrows his dad's Backy pickup truck, and he and husband's cousin loaded the organ. Organ owner lives around the corner, within walking distance. Auntie had tried one last time to ask organ owner to take her organ. Crickets. So cousin and Bill pulled up at her house. Organ owner was out, but her daughter's boyfriend was there. He happily let them in and even helped them offload it. Bill and cousin left, and we went on with our rearrangement. Organ owner was pissed. She messaged Auntie, absolutely furious. How dare you just drop this off without telling me? Don't you know I have no space for it? This is so inconvenient for me. I didn't want it back right now, and you knew that. Auntie was heartbroken and angry. We all reassured her that we had done the right thing and that the organ owner would get over it. I don't think they talk much anymore because Auntie was really hurt by the reaction. I knew exactly what game organ owner was playing because she was being deliberately avoidant of the conversation. Not giving her a choice was the best thing we could have done in that situation. My father called cousin and BIL organ donors because of that incident. Petty revenge. Don't mess with my little brother. My little brother, when he was in junior high, was bullied by a much bigger kid who rode the same school bus. Little things, like an elbow in the ribs, knocking his books out of his arms, etc. The worst was when he farted into his cupped hand and then placed it over my little brother's face, calling it a gas mask. My parents went in to talk to the vice principal, but were told that without witnesses, other students were afraid of the bully. His hands were tied. My oldest brother, I'll call him Joe, was a junior in high school. I was a freshman and played ice hockey. He was over 6 feet tall and probably weighed around 180. Back then he was a big kid and had the ice hockey physical contact mentality. Joe got a ride up to the junior high with a permission slip to ride the bus home with our little brother and was waiting at the bus stop when students were dismissed. He stepped in behind the bully just as he was going up the steps and followed him to his seat. When the bully sat down, Joe hip-checked him against the window, sat down next to him and introduced himself. For the next 20 minutes or so, Joe spoke to the bully in a very matter-of-fact tone, telling him that he needed to stop bullying our little brother. He made no threats because lots of other students were listening. The petty revenge, the bully's last name was Nobles. Joe referred to him as No Balls the entire ride. It became the bully's nickname. Petty revenge, rude cyclist taking a walk. Hey, I believe I've got a pretty good one. My wife and I are in our mid-30s and just moved from one town to another. We got a bigger apartment and was in need of a small living room table and a work desk for our computer. Problem is we have no car and my wife is pregnant at week 35 out of 40, so she's really about to pop. Anyway, we succeed to get the stuff we needed and loaded the baby stroller our boys at kindergarten with these 2 heavy items and proceeded to walk home. We're at a small walkway, obviously meant for pedestrians, by the store that's very close to our home when my mum texts. While I try to answer her, a cyclist in his 60s uses the little ringer on his bike to get us to move to the side. I instantly take a step onto the grass while still having my eyes on the phone, but I didn't think about my wife being heavily pregnant. She couldn't move the loaded stroller enough out of his way in time, so he had to ride his nice electric bike in the grass. Vad fan, ur vägen då för helvete. Then pushes our loaded stroller when biking past. I could live with him being slightly rude to me and my pregnant wife, but this annoyed me a lot. We walked home, unloaded the stroller, and then I took a bike lock with me when going out again to pick up my kid. The bike was still there and now locked with an extra lock. When walking past there again with my son, he was very, very angry. I wanted to say something but couldn't, since my son was with me. At least he got a smile. Petty revenge. First time at a casino. I have never been to a casino before. Not a fan of gambling, really. Well, a close friend recently came across a good amount of money and took us a group of 7 to the casino. He gave each of us $100 and said to do whatever. I only know how to play blackjack, so I sat down at a table. I didn't know all the rules, so the dealer told me about the hand signs, and another lady next to me, also a player, was telling me about the rules. Then this random old man across from the table said, "Don't help him. He loses and we win." I decided to be petty. All while making direct eye contact with him, I gave the nice other player $10 in chips since she helped me. A random guy next to her $10 in chips because I was feeling nice. Gave the dealer a random $10 tip. Then I said to the mean old man, "Everyone here at the table gets free chips, but not you. You just get the judgment of being an old prick." The dealer had to turn their face away to show her laughing. He didn't like that, least to say. I am more than happy giving away money that I didn't earn just out of spite, you old crone. Petty revenge. Won't pay us for transport. Imma, take your cargo. This isn't exactly my story, and Imma tried to keep it short. I don't know if petty revenge is fitting. I thought it'd be appropriate. The company I work for with has a few branches in a few countries, although being a family business. Now, in some countries, different laws apply, and in others, authorities are more lenient. I'm telling you this because what transpired happened in an eastern country. Division leader, let's call him Bob, youngest brother of my boss, got a few contracts to transport goods. Anybody who's worked in the cargo business knows that the goods are worth at least 20x of what you get for hauling them. This is important for the ending. Bob sent out a few trucks, they delivered the goods, but after waiting a month or so, he still didn't get paid. The company issuing the contacts repeatedly insisted on having paid no broker, no middleman. They got the bank details, but upon checking and checking anew, no money was transferred to our Eastern Division's bank account. I caught wind of the whole charade later, because their fight over email happened overnight. Bob accepted another order of said evil company who didn't pay Ushim, but this time incognito. He then personally drove the truck to the customer, loaded the goods, and then hid the truck. For good measure, he pulled the plug on all GPS sending devices and even disconnected the batteries. What then ensued was a shitstorm of insults from the company issuing the orders. The one who didn't pay us, over email mind you, to which Bob calmly and shortly responded with, "Pay my money and I'll personally see to it that your goods get delivered safe and sound." He did get the money and delivered the goods. Word on the street is that Bob even extorted a little bonus for his troubles. That sneaky bastard. Petty revenge, entitled Arsehole in the Parking Lot. This happened earlier today. It was short and sweet. Was in one of the more crowded malls in my city, where people go to especially on a Sunday with fam and everything. The mall is attached to a nice 5-star hotel, apartment complex, ballroom, etc. You get the idea. Getting a parking spot is a bitch, especially on Sundays, more so than Saturdays. So I'm done with my weekly lunch and shopping round with parents and got into the car. I literally just got half of my body into the driver's seat before closing the door. And this asshole came up from the corner and flashed his lights on me to signal that he wants the damn spot. It's an underground parking lot, so him flashing made it even brighter than it'll be outside. I was bloody annoyed and mumbled to myself. Parents asked me, "What did that guy do that you're annoyed?" "That damned old coot flashed me. He wants out spot." Mom, "Oh hell no, he ain't getting our spot. He can wait." So here starts the waiting game, where the old coot was a beat 5 meters away, with his signal lights waiting for our spot, while we're chilling in the car. Nail in the coffin was me exiting the car with my walk back towards the mall. Dude saw me and started turning his head for other spaces, went away within 15 secs. Off, I walked back to the car and got ready to move. Another car was immediately waiting for our spot, and this guy politely waited for our spot. No flashing, no nothing. Went away happily and shared a laugh with my parents. And there ends the family-sanctioned Sunday dose of petty revenge. Petty revenge. Neighbor from hell gets evicted. About 20 years ago, I was living in a 2-story apartment building and had the neighbor from hell move in. Single mother with 2 teenage boys. I had a few incidents over the time she lived there that would fall between petty revenge pro, revenge fafo. And if people want, I can put some of those stories up. The final issue was noise complaints. After school let out for the summer, she started letting her kids stay up, and they played music TV way too loud, way too late into the night. And since I needed to get up early in the day, and she was not a pleasant person to talk to, I reported her to the complex security for noise problems. And then I had a business trip come up that kept me out of town for over 3 weeks. When I got back, there was an eviction notice on my door for being non-responsive to noise complaints. So I gathered my papers from my expense forms and went to the business office to see what was going on. And the agent I spoke with told me that numerous noise complaints were made about me, and I had responded to none of them. So I asked what the dates were, since I had been out of town with documentation for most of the past month. We were going over this, and the agent was getting suspicious about the complaints. Then the other agent property manager got a call and told the agent I was working with that the guy in my apartment was doing it again. So I asked what I was doing, and she said, "Your music is too loud." I told her I had nothing turned on in my place, so either she was getting a bad call or someone broke into my unit while I was in the office. And the agent I was working with told her that I had hotel and restaurant receipts showing I was a few hundred miles away. When all of the other complaints had been made this month, the three of us went to my apartment, and surprise, no noise at all. So we went back to the office. They revoked the eviction and gave the lady above me a 14-day eviction notice for filing false complaints on top of her other behaviors. Petty revenge. She demanded I hurry up. Here's another story from my time working at a very popular theme park in Florida. When I worked for a resort one year, they had become short on cashiers. My managers noticed that I was fast at whatever tasks I was given, so they made the glorious decision to have me trained on cash register. Oh joy, I wasn't happy but had no choice. My coworker T was tasked with training me. T was a slightly older male who was very goofy, funny, and always inappropriately hit on me. My managers gave me a "I'm earning my ears" tag to put over my name. Tag so guests would know I'm in training, and T and I headed to the dining area and my cashier training began. Like many resorts, this resort had multiple restaurants or bays to eat at, each serving different things. It also had a bakery store. This made the register item list quite long, and it was divided over 5 pages. T said I would eventually memorize where everything was as I got better. Things were going well, and I was progressing nicely. Most guests were quite reasonable and understanding when they realized I was still learning. Some even gave words of encouragement, which I appreciated greatly. But then, a thin woman with a pointy nose and a frown walked into my line. She had quite a few items, including food and non-food items I wasn't familiar with. The merchandise items, such as mugs and plastic, decorative cups, were in a different location from the food items, so T had to point them out to me. He then returned to the main page and had me do the steps by myself. The woman let out an exasperated breath. T and I turned to look at her. "Woman, can you hurry up?" Me, "I apologize, I'm training." "Woman, I don't care, I have other things to do." Well, my petty box was immediately turned to on as I grabbed her first item. I slowly scanned it. I grabbed the mug, turning it over ever so slowly to find the price. Like a paralyzed slug, I slowly found the proper merchandise page and rung up the item. The woman's face turned a brilliant shade of red, while T struggled to suppress his laughter. When possible, I kept eye contact with her as I took my sweet time ringing each of her items up like a blind sloth. She was seething as I narrowed my gaze before giving her her total. She angrily threw her card down on the counter. I picked it up, taking my time completing the transaction before tossing the card and receipt back on the counter. Me have a magical day. Woman gah! T-lol. Petty revenge. Jackass timeshare rep. This happened in 2007. At the time, my now ex-wife had just moved out, so we were separated, maybe about a month. Dude calls, obviously South Asian, not friendly at all, very all business, domineering, bullying, etc. He's got this new timeshare locally that he just knows I will want to see, and he'll give me a 27 television just to hear his pitch. But I have to be certain to bring my wife, given that I had recently purchased a flat-screen 37 television, and I was separated. I said, "No thank you," and hung up. Story ends. Except, Goober calls me back a week later, desperate I suppose. He's even more aggressive and bullying, seeming to feel as if he can somehow browbeat me into this, so he's an utter dumbass. Dude doesn't know me at all. I've decided it's now time to fuck him over. This time, I'm all about his call. OMG, a 27 television. We have to come. I say no to his first appointment so as not to seem too eager, then yes to the second. 3 different times he indicates that I must bring my wife. I'm separated, but I say, of course she'll be there. At this point, I think it's over. But I got bonus revenge. An hour after the scheduled appointment time, he calls me back. No shit, I am not kidding. This dude was that motherfucking stupid. He's incredibly, unbelievably pissed off that I did not show up. I mean, this dopey dumbass is absolutely seething, furious. He's threatening to call the police, I kid you not. He was that stupid. I told him that I'd never had any indication of coming to his piece of shit presentation, was separated from my wife, and that I'd only acquiesced because he kept calling. He was a total asshole, and I wanted to fuck him over. "Did anyone show up for your thing?" I asked. Seething silence. "Have you sold any of your piece of shit timeshares? It's a competitive market here. I live in a tourist town." Even more seething silence. Finally, he angrily insists that I should fulfill my commitments and hangs up. I swear, if he'd been in the same room as me, I'd have needed a baseball bat, as that pathetic piece of shit would have physically attacked me. I was going through a lot of emotional shit because of the separation from my wife, so damn, this was hilariously gratifying. Petty revenge. Stealing puzzle pieces. Been doing the ever-dreadful separating of the belongings after being broken up with and having lived together for a couple years. He gifted me a 1,000-piece custom puzzle this last Christmas of what was our cat that we had started but never finished. He is taking the cat as he owned her before we got together, so it makes sense but is heartbreaking because she was my baby too. Anyways, I was kindly putting the pieces we sorted into some baggies to give back to him since I don't want the puzzle, given the circumstances, and thought he may want to complete it on his own. Then some anger arose as I was doing this task, thinking I can't believe I'm going through this, heartbroken. Losing both of them out of nowhere, and here I am kindly putting the pieces we organized from containers into baggies for him. I thought, why am I being so nice when he hurt me so bad? I am not one for revenge or bad character or getting back at people. But I also thought, how frustrating would it be to have puzzle pieces go missing? Knowing he would be sitting there trying to do it, swearing there isn't a piece that fits, because little does he know I took them. Looking around to see if he was sitting on it, checking all the pieces so many times, and that he could never have the satisfaction of finishing the puzzle. A small harmless act of revenge, but just as rewarding.